As it stands, there isn't much love out there for the Resurrection of F arc. And if you're a fan that's new to the series, you might feel inclined to skip this arc entirely given how badly people criticize it. And while I would advise skipping this wretch of a display, I have to give credit where credit is due. And this arc deserves infinitely more praise than it's given. So while a large chunk of the main fight is, well, garbage, this arc has much more to offer than you might think. Action, slapstick, and of course at times, superb animation. Now, before I begin, I would like to extend a huge thank you to @AnimeAJ on Twitter. This man has put together a terrific animation archive for Dragon Ball Super on the Kaizenshu forums. Without his continued hard work, these videos would be much more difficult to make. I'll leave the links to his archive as well as his Twitter and YouTube accounts in the description down below. Now, let's get this show on the road. I'm Totally Not Mark, and these are the 10 best animated moments of Dragon Ball Super's Resurrection of F arc. Number 10. Old School Art Style. Right off the heels of the Battle of Gods arc, Toei Animation decided to bring Shuichi Iseki, a freelance animator, into the fold. He had provided some brief key animations and in-between work for shows like Kill la Kill and Evangelion. But really, this guy by and large was an unknown who had primarily worked on animated music videos online. But that didn't stop Iseki from showing us what we hadn't seen in over a decade: classic Dragon Ball Z style artwork. Many people feel that the art direction for Dragon Ball Super is too rounded and soft looking. Skinnier bodies, rounded cheeks, curved shading, smooth noses, and rounded ears. These are all intentional design choices that Tadayoshi Yamamuro has made as the lead character designer for the series. He has been known to be very strict with his character designs, which has helped him garner a reputation for being a little full of himself and overbearing on the animators that work underneath him. But seemingly out of nowhere, Shuichi Iseki gave us this episode. Pointed ears, angular facial features, and sharp shading came back for one last hurrah. This scene in particular was clearly a tribute to a scene from the Android saga of Dragon Ball Z. You really can see the similarities here. To date, he has only done one episode of Dragon Ball Super, but I pray he does more in the future. He is a talented artist, and although his stint was brief, he created a nostalgic moment out of what could have been just another episode. Number 9. Frieza's Regeneration. Yukihiro Kitano. You might know this man as the animator who supervised episode 1. What you might not know is that he also was the animation supervisor behind this episode, which features some of the worst in the series. This, however, is in no small part due to the insane schedule that Dragon Ball Super has to follow. Thankfully, episode 19 had plenty of time to be produced, and is without a doubt one of the best looking and consistent episodes of the entire arc. Featuring this little nugget for Frieza's regeneration. Pulsating flesh and torn limbs all extend and heal seamlessly. Some great lighting and on-model artwork too. It's a very atmospheric scene that's fitting for an old favorite to return. Number 8. Summoning the Eternal Dragon. Dragon Ball always animates their dragons really well. Whew. Just suddenly got really cold there. Whew, anyway. Taken straight from episode 19 again, this features quite a nice entrance for Shenron. Arms and face extending out of the beams of light, whiskers waving and hair blowing in the air. It's always a treat when we see the Eternal Dragon Oh god. Seriously, it's so fucking cold. Kitano and the rest of the key animators did tremendously with the last 2 spots. As an animator who has a reputation for being inconsistent when under pressure, he seems to be consistently showing up on this list. Number 7. Dragon Ball Super Intro Sequence. Now this is some truly spectacular animation. Animated by the exceedingly talented Ryo Onishi, the only reason this hasn't ranked higher is its length. This, while amazing, is 2 seconds long. Usually I would refrain from including these intro sequences, but this was so good I had to include it. The use of composition, camera positioning, and close-up all pulled together with expressive facial features. An excellent job by Ryo Onishi. Number 6. Goku Gets Kicked. This right here is my favorite episode of the entire arc, and this is exactly what I wanted more of in the movie. The interactions between Vegeta and Goku in this episode are a joy to watch, and provide some of the biggest laughs of the entire series. In this scene, we find Goku and Vegeta trying to change Lord Beerus' bedsheets while he sleeps. Hijinks ensues as the two try to get their work done without waking the sleeping god. However, when he least expects it, Goku finds himself on the receiving end of Beerus' tail swipe. Flying towards one of the floating alarm clock bombs, Vegeta opts to kick Goku into the wall to prevent an explosion which almost certainly would have woken the sleeping deity. It's reasons like this I love being a Dragon Ball fan. These unique character interactions help make times of peace both fun and interesting. This episode was supervised by none other than the insanely talented Naoki Tate. His style unmistakable, he really tries to make this episode stand out in an enjoyable and visually stimulating way. Great facial expressions and some nice action combined with great comedy. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
Number 5. The Z Warriors vs. the Frieza Force.
At this point, we should consider Tatsuya Oka and Shuichiro Manabe as an animation duo. They have found themselves working on Ghost in the Shell and Fullmetal Alchemist in the past, but of late they have been assigned to important episodes of Dragon Ball Super. Episode 21 saw these two focus on some great intricate combat animation for the Z fighters as they systematically take out the Frieza Force. Some nice movement mixed with interesting colors and explosions brought this scene to life for me. Notice how Piccolo blocks this punch. His hand buckles from the weight of his opponent's right hook. Motion blur carries Piccolo's responding palm strike to the chin of his opponent, causing his neck to push back and extend. I love that kind of attention to detail, and this section of the episode looked just spectacular. Some more of this, please.
Number 4. Goku vs. Frieza, full power.
Believe it or not, the very same episode that produced this also brought us this heated exchange. The very first time we see Golden Frieza and Super Saiyan Blue Goku come to blows, it's a sight to behold. Animation that looks like it's plucked straight from the movie. You feel the intensity as we, the audience, are brought in close to the action to feel the magnitude of the fight. The job of the animation supervisor is to ensure that his or her episode has consistent animation throughout. And normally there's only one animation supervisor fulfilling this role. However, because of Super's insane schedule, Toei has been putting as many as 4 supervisors to a given episode to ensure it reaches its deadline. This is a clear sign of a show that's struggling to complete an episode. It's not the animation supervisor's fault here. Again, Toei has some incredibly talented people working for them. Producing a weekly animated TV show is just incredibly hard. So while this episode had its bad moments, let's not forget to appreciate this gem that was produced amidst the chaos.
Number 3. Goku and Vegeta sparring.
Kitano with episode 19 again. This time we find ourselves in the middle of a training exercise with Goku, Vegeta, and Whis. Beginning with a gorgeous charge of Vegeta towards the camera, every frame of this could be someone's desktop wallpaper. It continues featuring some nice combat over even better water animation. Goku rejoins the fray as we continue this superb showing, capped off with this perfectly drawn hand for Whis. This arguably could be the best moment in the entire arc when it pertains to animation. But at this point in the countdown, competition is stiff. Kitano supervised this episode and produced something truly special. However, his last episode before this one was episode 7. That means he had well over 10 weeks to complete this one. When under pressure for time, he has struggled to keep quality up. Take episode 24 for example. He had half the time to produce that episode, and as a result, things just fell apart. It just goes to show that even the best animators can struggle when they are put under enough pressure. I hope that people can leave this video knowing that the animators at Toei are talented and can produce some amazing stuff. Thankfully, Kitano was given enough time to produce this for us, and as a result, it looks sensational.
Number 2. Naoki fucking Tate.
This is a man who knows how to work within the ridiculous parameters of Dragon Ball Super's schedule. Where some would settle for stiff, simple motions for the sake of a model accuracy, Naoki Tate decides to take it in the opposite direction, sacrificing model accuracy to ensure that the audience at home doesn't just watch this all day. He keeps his drawings loose and full of energy. Long, exaggerated strikes give greater weight and power to each punch delivered. He plays with the consistency of anatomy to give the blow greater weight. Notice how he draws the hand perfectly, but as it moves quickly across the screen, it becomes a streak of color before regaining structure upon impact. This gives his drawings more power, whether it's the imaginative fight sequences, great facial expressions, or his use of shaky limbs to create a struggle that looks very convincing. Naoki Tate managed to pull some great stuff out of the bag where people like Kitano would have just played it safe. Toei Animation are lucky to have this man on their team.
Number 1. Vegeta dismantles Golden Frieza.
Many of you might have seen this coming, and in truth, deciding my number 1 for this list was much more difficult than I thought it would be. That said, I feel this scene epitomizes what this arc could have been. This is the one scene from the anime that is arguably better than the movie. From a story point of view, this is much more satisfying for the viewer. We get to see the Saiyan Prince finally get his revenge on the individual who eradicated his entire family and homeworld. Perfectly on model, some very nice punches and intricate combat. Great particle effects too. I made this list primarily to highlight some truly great artwork and animation that this arc, which many panned as being a waste of time, has. It's clear that hard work was put into this series, and honestly, I'm amazed that this arc was able to produce as much quality as it did. I love the conversations that take place under my videos. People are passionate about this series, and I can understand the frustration that brews when things are not going as perfectly as you imagine it in your head. So while I'll agree this arc's main battle was disappointing, it also offered tons of enjoyable moments that in many ways exceeded my own expectations. These guys work extremely hard in this series, and I mean extremely hard. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you would like to see more top 10s like this, please feel free to subscribe. This has been the 10 best animated moments of Dragon Ball Super's Resurrection of F arc. Thank you so much for watching.